Okay, welcome to the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour podcast. We're back. It's my name's Sergio Paradise. It's the second week of the Oz Open. Big names everywhere getting flung out left, right and centre. But there's one big name who is still there and will be right to the finish, and that big name is Titus O'Reilly.
You can really hang in there if you're an audience member.
Yeah.
One of the great benefits.
Of just being down there.
The fans can always stick it out to the end.
Now, as I say, the big names have been dropping out. Andy Murray got beaten yesterday. See, no one could accuse me this morning of being over-prepared because I don't even know who beat Andy Murray yesterday. Was it Sam Stosur?
Yeah, that's who it was.
Yeah, she's an unpredictable.
I don't think anyone's ever accused either of us of being over-prepared. Now, we should add up front, now I learnt this week Dane Swan might be going into the jungle.
The jungle.
So,
we'll be keeping. If that happens, we'll be keeping a close eye on that one.
Yeah, we might have to watch the Jungle Show. Which have you ever watched it? I've never watched it.
I watched bits of it last year with Warnie and Fev.
I only watched the highlights on online just to see Warnie's one about where he said Brendan Fowler's one of the stupidest people he'd ever met, which I thought. And then if Warnie's calling. And then that stupid.
Didn't Warnie give his theory of evolution?
Yeah, he said, which involved aliens.
Which of course it did.
Which surprisingly amongst that group of celebrities,
didn't raise much of an eyebrow, did it?
There was no one going, that's rubbish.
No.
There was a general. When some people wonder how Trump won, watch that show. But so anyway, I've got the gig where I'm going to be interviewing Dane Swan. So that's in April. So I'll put the link in the show notes again. But doing that gig, Rhombus Isotope wrote in, does your insurer know you'll be entering a venue that may contain a large number of Collingwood supporters? I'm not sure if that's... Do
you have an insurer?
I'm so rich I don't need an insurer.
Of course
aren't insurers just for poor people that can't afford these things? That's going to endear me to the Collingwood supporters,
of course
isn't it?
Is. Old Rhombus was in a bit of fine form yesterday.
He's getting stuck into you on Twitter.
Yeah, supposedly to do with my sort of ongoing, not battle, I wouldn't say, but thing about Adelaide.
Yeah.
I've never been overly complimentary about the city of Adelaide, but he suggested I go to Snowtown yesterday and that this whole segment could be sponsored by West End.
Right.
And that's just too much. That's just too cruel.
In fairness, though, there's this podcast, the longer on we've gone, it's really the thread running through it is places Sergio doesn't like. Because you've added Perth and Narre Warren.
Yeah.
I don't think you were overly fond of... Brisbane you were indifferent to, I think,
I'm
at best.
Indifferent to Brisbane.
Sydney you like. You're nice about Sydney.
I like Sydney. Brisbane, I've got nothing against... I'm yet to be convinced on Brisbane.
What a big opportunity for people in Brisbane to win you over. Now, just before just after our last podcast last year,
yes,
that we did just before Christmas, we talked a bit about the amount of racehorses found taking ice.
It was an epidemic.
We thought when we read about one horse, we thought, oh, that's hilarious. But then we found there's about 5 that have happened in the last year or so. And then on cue, a couple of days after that podcast, just ahead of Christmas, this one, a Toowoomba racehorse trainer, Ben Curry, he faced the Queensland Racing Integrity Commission meeting. This was just before Christmas. After one of his horses returned a positive sample for methamphetamine,
right?
Your favourite.
Wasn't my favourite.
And now one of the things is that, so that's another one we can put in the column of testing positive to a party drug. Now the best thing about this is the horse's name was Party Till Dawn. It was right there in the name all along.
They should have known. They absolutely should have known.
Has there ever been we should get a horse, Ice Baby.
Yeah. Has that already been taken?
I don't know. Well, we want to get the horse Norwegian girlfriend off the jockey that tried
the Josh Cartwright story last week.
And you actually had someone approach you in public.
I was at a barbecue yesterday and a guy came up to me who
you don't know that, you know a bit.
But I don't know him that well. But he came up to me and he just pointed at me and he said, I'll put in $10 for Norwegian girlfriend. Mate, you're in.
It's happening.
We've now got a syndicate of 3 We're up to 30 bucks to buy a racehorse.
Well, this horse, it's going to have so much ice in it. We don't need to start with a good horse.
No, or a good trainer, or even a good jockey. Or we would like Josh Cartwright in the saddle.
That's right. Day. Well, anyway, so another horse, Party Till Dawn, on ice. It's an epidemic if they've ever been one.
Has Party Till Dawn now gone to a Thailand rehab centre like NRL players
Yeah, where do they send the horses that are on drugs to go and calm down? Bali, Thailand,
Malibu.
That's right. You're going to get them somewhere. Now, Oz Open, everything happening. You've been following it, I know, so closely.
Well, I have been. Yesterday, I was at a barbecue, to be honest, and so I missed the Andy Murray story. I still don't, to this moment, I still don't know who beat him. But the one thing I did like is that with Andy Murray and Djokovic out, it gave the papers the opportunity to use the headlines Joker and the Night.
Yeah,
the Joker
perfect.
and the Night, just sounding like a really bad derivative Wolf Mother song. Or should I say Wolf Mother song.
So he was defeated by Misha Zarev.
Oh, Zverev.
Zverev, yeah.
Oh, okay. Who'd beaten...
Who's the up-and-coming...
He's the one who beat
thing.
Djokovic, I think.
Did he?
I think so. Jeez, we're right across this, aren't we?
Oh,
I did watch Roger last night.
Do you know what I tend to be doing with the Australian Open at the moment?
What's that?
I dip in and out. I got the BBL, the one-dayers, and the Australian Open.
Yeah.
So sometimes like last night I watched all of Federer.
Yes, so did I.
And didn't watch a lot of the Australians playing Pakistan. I kept flicking. It was
really
terrible
care about
game.
That. Yeah.
It's just boring.
You could tell that little bit that I did watch of the one day. You could just tell the Pakistani players they're over it. The whole thing, the whole tour. They just want to get home.
They're like North Melbourne were in last year's finals. They're just there to get through make up the numbers.
Imagine how desperate you'd have to be to get home to Pakistan. Add that to the list.
Hello, Pakistan. I've watched some of the main matches, but I haven't seen any Andy Murray games.
No.
And it doesn't seem like I'm going to. That's been probably on purpose. So Tomic went out.
Yeah.
After
and that was a pretty lame performance too.
Look, the only thing about it is because Kyrgios's was so much worse.
Yeah.
He kind of just.
He got away with
got
it a
the
bit.
Slipstream through there.
Yeah, I mean, I did watch it, and while he didn't, as you say, the Kyrgios performance was worse. That was Kyrgios didn't give it up, but he just stopped trying. He just didn't have.
He gave it up, Serge.
Yeah, Tomic.
Stop being a Kyrgios apologist.
They're
the worst.
Like a climate change denier.
Yeah, that's right. You've got your own alternate facts.
but Tomic, he just was going through the motions, and he just did enough to hang in there and say, "Yeah, well, I was beaten by a better player on the day." Well, yeah, but if he'd had that determination or the competitive urge or the guts about him, he wouldn't have just gone in straight sets.
Well, so much of tennis is just mental strength.
Yeah,
at that level, and you saw last night with Federer.
Yeah,
he was just. Mentally, he doesn't.
A difference.
He doesn't go to water when something's not going his way. He's been in all these situations before. That's the difference. Yeah. Where Tomic didn't have the meltdown quite like
Kyrgios.
But the interesting thing about Kyrgios I read this week is his former trainer came out and said Nick Kyrgios doesn't even train for 15 minutes a day, and he's still like, what is he, number 18th or 16th in the world? Of basically just. Rocking up.
And he said all the other players in the locker room, they have this thing going, geez, if he actually did train,
he'd be
unbeatable.
Yeah.
He'd be number one. So who knows? But you're right about the mental thing, because the Federer match last night when Nishikori he wasn't well on top, but he won the first set and he was looking pretty good in the second. You could almost see, they did a close-up of Roger Federer, and you could almost see his eyes harden up and go, okay, now it's time.
Yeah.
Okay, it's about time I cranked up and became Roger again.
Yeah.
And for the next set and a half, he made Nishikori look like a dill.
Yeah.
And he's number 5 in the world. So but also, there is a difference. I mean, that's why Federer's won 17 Grand Slams.
Yeah.
And Bernie and Kyrgios will probably not win one between them.
Well, you just get... It's also the ability to deal with when things aren't going perfectly well for you, and across a 5-set game especially, you're going to have your down moments and things like that. Yeah. And the other two just don't know how to really cope with it.
No.
That's their problem. They just don't know. So we had some great questions come in about the Australian Open. Andrew Blood wrote in hell, is it possible that the devil makes you watch Andy Murray matches, but with the Channel 9 cricket commentary team on infinite loop? That is my idea of hell.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine watching Andy Murray play while listening to Ian Healy talk about his career?
I tell you what, last night they had a whole bit that I did tune into in one of the set breaks, I think, or something, and they had Slats and Michael Clark on. And it was just, you just realise, like, the BBL, they sometimes muck around and talk about non-cricketing stuff, but the difference is they're likeable.
They're likeable and they don't take themselves too seriously.
It doesn't feel forced too. Like when Slats and Clark, they do something like, a bit like that time in the locker room.
Yeah.
And you just
go, Barbados,
that's
Slats.
not actually a funny anecdote.
Yeah, no, it wasn't then, and it's not now.
And it's like a boring thing that it might have been funny at the time for you two. But, anyway.
They're all like your annoying uncle at a wedding,
Malcolm McKinger wrote in, could the Australian Open coverage be improved with a live ladder?
Oh, gee, that's not a bad suggestion, Malcolm.
Channel
7, they've got the mega wall.
We love the mega wall.
Surely a live ladder could be added
The live ladder would be great, but it should just be the ladder for this season and just all the teams in alphabetical order and just never change. Timothy Byrne wrote in, is there any other company in which Bernard Tomic would be called the sane one? This is your point.
Yeah.
Tomic just needs to come out a little bit, and compared to Kyrgios now, he looks...
Yeah, he looks, I was going to say presidential, but he looks, like he's a smart, genuine, decent bloke, which we all know he's not.
People love anyone that turns the corner. So these guys, if either one of them was smart enough to knuckle down and not say, just even be a bit quiet, they would come right around. And Steve Wixon gets into this point, actually. Next question. When discussing Nick Kyrgios, I often hear people say, but we used to think Leighton Hewitt was a tool when he was younger too. What do they mean by used to?
Steve reckons, little Leighton's still a bit of a tool. Is that the point he's making?
I kind of can agree with you with Steve in that, I think Leighton, he was at a 10 and he's dropped down to now, a 6?
Yeah.
So it seems, in comparison.
Well, see, Leighton, I reckon, he was never loved, Leighton. Even when he turned his image around, he was never loved like a Pat Rafter. Like, Pat Rafter was loved. Leighton was universally admired by all Australian tennis fans
for his heart,
his heart and his fighting qualities, the two things which Kyrgios and Tomic don't have.
Yeah,
but I still reckon Leighton Hewitt was admired, but he wasn't loved.
No, still, and people now, but I think this is a bit like people say now, he's improved a lot. No, he's come good, and you go, this is like it was 38 degrees outside, now it's 30. It's still bloody hot. It's just not quite as bad as it was. It's not quite as bad. Now, Stej Bosnak wrote in, if Federer played for North Melbourne, would he have been forced into retirement because he was taking the spot of a younger, less talented player? I think that's a good point.
It's a very good point.
Kappa Towers here writes in, and he's gotten right to the heart of what the Australian Open is about here. With the early eliminations of Djokovic and Murray, what ramifications do they pose for the upcoming AFL season?
Oh, good question. I mean, the one thing that without them there, does it give Channel 7 the opportunity to promote the footy season coming up?
I think that's pretty much.
They've promoted everything else.
People start to switch off pretty quickly on the tennis if the
big guns aren't there.
If the big guns aren't there.
And interestingly, Channel 7, they haven't been too happy with this tournament. Because the ratings, the Big Bash has given them an absolute run for their money and has beaten the tennis on some nights, which they've never had before. They've just owned this 2 weeks. And having blokes like Djokovic and Murray drop out,
not going to help.
It's not going to help. But still they get to say, after the tennis. You know what they should play after the tennis? More tennis.
That's right. It's just unbelievable, the cross-promotion, both on BBL and Channel 7 and 9 too. They're just shameless.
So it's not just Channel 7 here. 9 are just as bad.
BBL the other night, in between the innings, they always interview just someone who's like, it's either a V8 race car driver because they've got the V8s, or it's, one of the reality TV shows. They had the runner-up winner of Australian Survivor. The runner-up. So not the winner, the runner-up. And they did a full interview with him. And I can't remember if it was Gilchrist. I think it might have been Gilchrist that had to do it. And you're like, they couldn't even get the winner of their own show on. The runner-up.
I don't know whether it was last year or the year before. I took my boys to the Big Bash.
Yeah.
And we happened to be near one of their little studios and when they were crossing. And you know who they interviewed that night? Harold Bishop from Neighbours. And you could see old Harold did not want to be there. It was just, he was there as a contractual obligation by appearing on Neighbours.
I would love to see someone like that where they say, you're a cricket fan? Nope.
Couldn't care less. Stars, Renegades, couldn't care less.
Don't care. No. What is this?
Yeah, what am I doing here?
Well, it was interesting when I was not even aware there was an Australian Survivor.
Oh, no.
That's right. You told me there was.
Yeah, no, it was on the second half of last year. And
so you were a big fan of the runner-up?
Who was the runner-up?
Some bloke.
Oh, it was the bloke. The bloke who, he had a beard and he was expected to win. And he's now shacked up with one of the other girls who was on Survivor.
Oh, that's going to last.
Yeah.
Those things always go well.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing like
she's about to get voted off the island.
Nothing like two reality TV stars hooking up.
Recipe for long love.
Nick C wrote in, do you think Djokovic made a mistake in appointing Justin Lepic as his coach after Boris Becker left? I've said that it's dangerous experimenting with red-headed coaches.
It is.
We certainly learnt that with Brisbane. You have to go back to Norm Smith?
As the last successful red-headed coach.
I'm trying to think. There's probably others across world sport. I'm just trying to run through my head. But, it's a...
Not too many. But Justin Lepic, I still think it's so great that he's gone to Richmond.
Oh,
it's just...
Because they did such a sterling job there last time.
Yeah.
Dave Richard wrote in, after Nick Kyrgios stated that he may finally need a coach, is there any chance of Collingwood players doing likewise? Oh, that's what the kids call a sick burn.
It's still a fair way off the footy season, but fortunately, all our listeners are still happy to belt Collingwood or North or Richmond.
These questions about the Australian Open, we've had someone just stick the elbow out as going past to North Melbourne.
Yeah.
Someone doing it also to Justin Lepic.
Yep.
And someone also to Brisbane, and someone doing it to Collingwood. So
and redheads in general.
Now Yonex, the racket maker,
who
tennis
hasn't
merch
owned a Yonex at some point?
I don't think I have.
Haven't you?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I remember when I was a kid, Yonex was the one.
I remember as a kid I inherited, as I was about 6, it was an old wooden racket.
Oh, they're the ones. You hang them in the bar now.
Yeah, and it was a Margaret Court one, so it had a Margaret Court picture on it, and I think it was from about the 60s, 70s. That's how old it was when it was given to me, and it was very homophobic.
I was about to say it was not only a tennis racket but good for crucifixions as well.
That's right. It was such a wonderful thing. I didn't know all that when I got given it as a kid. Now Yonex, which is the racket sponsor of Nick Kyrgios, it's announced it's got a new controversial contract clause in their new when they sponsor a player that enables the manufacturer to strip a chunk out of their client's retainer for every racket smashed.
So Yonex, okay, so they're
sick of the players. They want a clean image.
Yeah.
And they're sick of players smashing their rackets on the court. Because one, it's a bad look, but two, it's...
That means you got to give them another racket. But that's fair enough, because when the players smash the racket, by implication, it means they've played a bad shot and they're blaming the racket.
Yeah.
And really...
Well, not always. Sometimes they just want to hit someone.
Yeah, well, that's true.
It says here, do you think they're calling this the Kyrgios clause? Because it says here, over the first 3 days of the Australian Open, 11 players were fined for racket and equipment violations. And Kyrgios is one of them in his 5-set loss to Seppi on last Wednesday night. So there's been 11 players that have been fined already for smashing racket.
There was actually, I think just this morning in the juniors, an Italian girl was disqualified.
I saw that
for belting the ball at one of the ball kids.
Yeah, it hit
but it was a pretty lame hit, wasn't it? To be disqualified.
She actually bounced the ball on the ground after a point and just flicked it with her wrist.
Yeah, was it with the disqualification?
Well, it just happened to hit the ball boy directly on the chest. Now, it was as light as anything, but technically you're not allowed to. See, in my day...
In your day?
We dreamt of being hit by having a tennis ball shot at us by a top player.
Yeah.
It was an honour. But these kids these days, they're soft.
It's a nanny state.
It is a nanny state. Now, did you see we had our Aussie Daria?
Oh, Dasher.
Dasher. Sorry, we're going to say Dasher.
Dasher.
Do you think everyone says Dasher because they can't pronounce her name?
Yeah, Daria. Is it Daria?
Daria Gavrilova. Gavrilova, Dasher, as I like to call
Dasher,
it.
Aussie Dasher.
Now, when she played on Saturday night, did you see this? Her and her opponent both wore the exact same outfit.
They did.
And what was amazing is the outfits were both the same colour as the court as well, and the ANZ sponsorship. It just looked like a giant ANZ.
It was blue.
There was no clash strip policy.
No clash strip. Now they were both wearing the ASICS outfit. Surely ASICS have more than one colour.
I don't think so.
Well, I know like Nike this year, it's all the black and white, shirts, but with the orange socks and orange shoes. But ASICS, come on, lift your game. It was impossible to tell which one was Dasher and which one was Tamia Bakzinski.
Well, they both had the same colour hair, similar haircuts, everything. The whole thing was difficult.
Yeah. No. Poor form.
We should have a go at designing tennis wear.
Should we? We'll introduce a clause that they're not allowed to smash their shirts.
They have to smash their rackets. They get bonuses for every time they have a tantrum on the court. It's the only time you get all the coverage.
It is.
Now, Ben Roach wrote in, how can Dasher call herself an Aussie when she makes it past the second round?
Oh, good point. Good point.
Just wrong. Now, one thing that's really gone up a notch this week in terms of coverage, and maybe this is the AFL getting, and because it's about to start as well, and the AFL getting its marketing arm into exercising its full power. The first AFL women's game, which is going to be between Collingwood and Carlton.
Traditional rivals. Yep.
They're considering moving the season opener from Olympic Park, which is the Collingwood's training game, ground, which has no real seats or anything. Yeah. It's just to Princess Park.
Carlton's old ground.
Princess Park, because basically
training ground.
They had a Collingwood play. Melbourne played on the weekend.
The Bulldog. No, against Carlton.
And lost.
Got flogged. Actually,
got flogged. So it's great. They're already making us feel good as Demon supporters. And they are saying that about 2,000 people showed up to that, and it hadn't been promoted.
Yeah.
So
I just read about it Saturday morning. Apparently, they were hanging off the rafters. So
2,000 to a nothing game, and no one
it was just a practice match.
So they're now thinking they're going to have to move it. So that's on February 3rd. That game's going to be.
Yeah.
I was surprised they didn't do the first one somewhere a bit bigger anyway, but I guess they're just trying to manage expectations.
Yeah, I guess what they don't want.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, what they obviously don't want is for the very first match in the first season, TV coverage is to have empty seats.
Yeah.
But it looks like, as you say, that ain't going to be a problem.
Well, it's great for Princess Park, because that's why Carlton invested so much money into that ground. Because, a decade later, a women's opening game would get played there. I'm looking forward to the actual start of the women's game. I've got my membership for Melbourne.
Have you really?
Yeah, I got my...
Do you get a separate membership for the women's team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I signed up as a foundation...
A foundation member?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be a collector's item one day.
Oh, well, you know what number I am, because they tell you the number you get.
What?
64, which in Melbourne... That's the last time we won a premiership.
Oh, that's true.
So what an omen.
Oh.
An omen that we're going to not be very good, maybe.
But the biggest omen was...
I have a huge problem with the Women's League, and let me tell you why.
Oh, okay.
Because it's actually a question that's come in from Tim Williamson that sums up perfectly why I'm not happy with the Women's League and think that they're...
Tell me.
I think it's really lacking in one area. Tim Wilson wrote in, distinct lack of scandalous preseason content coming from the AFL Women's League. Surely someone has urinated in an alleyway or rocked up to preseason 5 kilos heavier. It's true. Like, equality won't occur for me with the women's game until they start behaving terribly.
Yes.
Like spoilt brats. And right now, they're all so appreciative and happy and just nice people that it's really bothering me. You know, no one's hit anyone. No one's like...
Yeah, the Women's League won't be fair dinkum until they have their equivalent of a bad boy or
like the St Kilda Football Club in the early 2000s.
Yeah, or until, I don't know, Daisy Pearce puts a lit cigarette into somebody's pocket at an after-match function.
Until Daisy Pearce sets a dwarf on fire at a Christmas party, I'm just thinking that it's a bit too clean cut right now.
Or Moana Hope to king hit a teammate at training. That's what we want to see.
That's what I want. Something like that. That's going to really make me think, well, it's arrived. It's arrived as a sport. Now, these people are not, clean cut people that you actually want your kids to follow.
No, yeah.
And then I want someone who does that to get hired as the face of Channel 7 football as well.
Yeah, or they will then, once they get rubbed out or retire, they'll be hired by the AFL
That's right.
to run junior girls footy.
That's right. Now, the new women's AFL ad has come out. Now, what they've done is they've recreated the 1990s I'd like to see that ad.
I
do you remember that one?
Yeah, and I have seen this one, the girls' version.
So it features Melbourne Cup winning jockey Michelle Payne. I think you have to say Melbourne Cup winning jockey. That's
like triple Brownlow
medalist. Sir Andy Murray, you have to say.
Skilton.
That's right. Yeah. Olympic gold medalist Kathy Freeman, same there.
Again,
you don't even need to say Olympic gold medalist. Everyone knows what Kathy Freeman did.
Yep.
Journalist Lee Lin Chin.
Yep.
And Melbourne captain Nathan Jane and his daughter. Now, it's a good ad.
It's not a bad ad.
What I do like is it's recreating the 1990s ad, which is actually where women's pay's pegged at the moment in the AFL. So there's a nice bit of synergy there.
You know what it is missing? George Burns.
Yeah, that's right. They had George Burns in the other. Did they have Evander Holyfield as well?
I think they did. Yeah. They may have even had who was the sprinter who got
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson was in there at one point. But they had to take him out.
What was great about that international ad is how it spread Aussie rules to the rest of the world.
Well, that's right. It did work.
So that's all. That's really gearing up. The women's league is right around the corner.
To be honest, though, just on that new women's AFL ad, it's great they've recreated the 1990s ad. Blah blah blah. I still reckon it wouldn't have killed them to go with a fresh creative for this. Now I don't know what that would have been.
Yeah.
But just rehashing the old blokes ad, I'm not convinced that was the way to go.
Well, I know what you mean. In one way, though, I'm just incredibly relieved that we managed to, knowing football, that we got through this without the ad being sexist. Because that was there was a percentage chance. Like they're all at the beach in bikinis or something would not have shocked me.
Yeah, it would have.
Someone coming up with that.
If they're going to go back to I wouldn't have been surprised if it looked like an old Big M ad.
Yeah, that's right. Chico roll ad.
Chicks in bikinis.
Yeah, sex sells, guys. Let's do it. I can see the the pony-tailed marketer pitching that to them. And the Mike Fitzpatricks of the world going, hey, it's a good idea.
Good idea.
Very modern.
I like that. Yeah,
we need a youthful thing. Now, a bit of good news coming out last week. Jared Rufford has been announced that he's going to captain Hawthorn. And thank God, because Luke Hodge, terrible.
Finished. Who does he think
after last year, they're in a hole, Hawthorn.
I think, look, he's been overrated for years. Luke Hodge has.
Terrible player.
Possibly one of the worst captains since Melbourne had Jack Rhymes and Jack Trengo. No, look, Hodgie, one of the all-time greats. But this is...
Good bloke too.
A good bloke. Will always pass the good bloke test, despite drink driving and...
I think this is... I felt weird because I actually felt like positive feelings towards Hawthorn about this story, and that I showered straight afterwards. It was not a good feeling. Is he the man... that's going to turn them around?
Because let's face it, they need turning around.
They do.
After 12 months. The good, well, not one of the good things. There's the obvious good thing about this. because was that a few months ago they say no, Jared Ruffhead, he's going to be back this year. He's going to be back playing this year, and at the time I was thinking, he may not. This could be just a bit of spin.
Oh, I think a lot of people were.
This
the
is
word
just
around was
AFL
that there's no
spin.
way.
This is Hawthorn spin. He's not going to come back at all. They're just trying to be nice. But as soon as they announced he's captain, obviously I was wrong, and he is 100% fit, which is fantastic.
It's one of the rare occasions where you're actually happy to be wrong.
I'm very happy to be wrong on that.
You usually cannot handle that.
Yeah, I'm not good. I get a bit like Andrew Demetrio or the Fonz.
You start smashing rackets.
I can't say, but I'm very happy to be wrong on this one. And good luck to Ruffy, who again passes the good bloke test.
Well, and Greg Leslie wrote in, "Why does it feel so strange to be happy for Hawthorn?" That's a good point, Greg.
Yeah.
It just.
It's and sort of where we're coming
Sarah
from.
Black raises an interesting question. If Jared Ruffhead and Bob Murphy return as captains in the same game against each other, would that ensure world peace? We do need a healing of the world, I think.
Yeah, we do.
They're the two.
There's a lot of division and nastiness.
I'm not convinced
in the world.
Bob Murphy wasn't the one, given the way he was talked about at the end of last year, who didn't cure Jared Ruffhead by the laying on of hands. Because Bob Murphy is as close, and I love Bob Murphy, he's as close as you get in Melbourne to a saint.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, if you go to Bob's house, you put your head under the tap. It's like the healing waters of Lords.
Then it turns into wine. He's into wine. He actually, after the grand final, he actually ascended up on a beam of light. Although that's what I was told, but it was by very drunk Western Bulldog supporters.
But it was late in the night when that happened.
Now, huge story that I know you'll be excited about.
I am pumped about this.
Alex Rance is signed a deal to not only sign on permanently in his own segment on the Footy Show. So that's with Craig Hutchie taking over, and now we've got Alex Rance. So, I mean, is that not going to turn the ratings around right there? On top of that...
When in doubt, bring in a Mormon. That's what I always say.
That's what you've always said. Yeah. And hello to the Mormons there, just adding to your list of groups. Well, I guess that wasn't just that disparaging for you.
Disparaging.
Now, he's also going to do the Sunday evening lifestyles show postcards, which is where they talk about.
They
go around.
It's just an advertorial show.
Advertorial for ads for where to go travelling in Victoria.
Yeah, holiday destinations and resorts. Pay Channel 9 to get on there.
It's the show you occasionally catch if you flick on just a bit too early to the news.
Yeah.
And you catch the tail end of it.
And you
go, Shane Crawford's on TV.
And Crawford's always the last segment in the show.
Yeah. So Alex Rance is going to do that, which that's going to get you. And that actually, Postcards runs on Channel 9 against the last quarter of Channel 7's footy on Sundays.
Right.
So that's not...
Does this mean I get a choice of watching Alex Rance on Postcards or Bounce on Fox Footy?
Now, Jeremy Hill raises he read in with a good question. Is Alex Rance appearing on Postcards for his knowledge of September Hollywood holiday destinations?
Oh, Jeremy. Oh, look, I don't want to go off too early, but I think you're clubhouse leader with that question.
It's exciting what's happening in AFL media when
it is.
New talents like Alex Rance are coming to the fore. No wonder people are getting bored with the mainstream media. It's amazing. Dane Swan, we mentioned, going to the jungle. Now, one of the things come out of it, most people think that Jason Ackermanis is going.
To be Acker.
And now they're saying, Herald Sun saying it's Dane.
It's Swanee.
Dane Swan. They've been told by sources that he's going to be
independent sources.
Now, Channel 10 wouldn't confirm or deny.
Oh, they'll never do that.
Huge.
How do you reckon Swanee will go in there in the jungle?
He'd be fine.
He'd be fine, How would you be if you're a big tarantula and you walked up to Swanee and you jerked out his arms and legs? If you were the spider, you'd be backing off.
He'd probably be scaring most of it.
I don't think he's in any danger.
Well, the jungle show did wonders for Fev.
It did.
So, it can...
Did it do wonders for Warney, or was it just another vehicle for Warney to make a buck?
Did wonders for his bank balance.
Yeah. 50 grand a week will do that.
Yeah. I mean, Warney's he's in his own bubble.
Yeah.
He's in his own category,
he's in his own world. He's got his own face. I mean, I saw him the other day. I will have to go on record. says he's never had work done.
Yeah.
He's never had work done on his melon. It is. I'll say to you,
you saw him in real life. You're saying,
no,
or
well,
on
no,
TV?
I saw him on a photo, and he is fair dinkum. There is more filler and plastic in that head than a Lego
controversial.
figurine.
I doubt you wouldn't find many people agree with you on that. Surely,
no, I know. So I'm not exactly going out on a limb there, but.
Well, that brings us back to cricket. The Allan Border Medal is on tonight. How excited are you on a scale of not to not at all?
Oh, you remember it wasn't that long ago that they tried to make this big. Channel 9 used to televise it live.
Yeah.
And now what? You'd be lucky to get the highlights package on Foxtel.
I think it's you can stream it. And I think one year I streamed it just to take the piss out of it. And they had just one camera. You know, like it was like 1950s kind of. It was just unbelievable.
And they always trot out. They always have like a music act, and it's always somebody really contemporary or something like the Choir Boys doing "Run to Paradise" or something. It was something that would have been played when they won the '87 World Cup or something like that.
I saw Greg Chappell get up and deliver a long anecdote, a speech, which was a long anecdote that just went on, and it was like it just served no purpose and had no funny bit. And you keep thinking, okay, this is going somewhere, and it just never got anywhere. And then it just ended.
So a lot of cricketers do become actual good raconteurs and can tell a funny
you've had
story.
A lot. Like Max Walker was probably the main one.
Jeff Thompson did a great speech last week. A lot of cricketers are good at that. Not Greg Chappell. He's never been any good at that. No.
But it's on tonight, and apparently one of they're going to induct into the Australian Cricket Hall of Fame Matthew Hayden, David Boone,
Bernie,
and legendary women's all-rounder Betty Wilson. So that's a it's funny. It makes you feel old when Matty Hayden getting in. That's a bit more recent.
Yeah.
But David Boone.
Booney was your 80s.
Taken this long for Booney to get in.
I thought Hayden. That's probably right. It's probably. Well, he was a 90s cricketer, so 15, 20 years is about right. But when you told me that, I thought, gee, I'm surprised Booney's not already there.
Well, the drinking alone should have got him in.
Forgetting his
opening. Was it 54 cans on the way to
52 cans
52.
To London.
And did you know he only stopped because he found out there were free spirits?
And I think Rod Marsh tried to beat his record.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but couldn't do it and had to be taken off the plane in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Isn't that fantastic? That's one of the great Australian things. You fly to Sydney to London to take on the old arch enemy in the Ashes, and you have to be taken off the plane in a wheelchair because you're that pissed.
They used to all be just drunk all the time.
They should.
It's a problem with.
There should be more of it now. Now you got Peter Siddle turn up with a bag full of kale.
I'm convinced, and bananas. I'm convinced that drunk sport would do well on TV.
Oh, no question. Look at darts. Darts has always done well.
I think
there's the danger that it becomes a riot.
The dangerous blood sport that is darts. Gee. Now, something that caught my eye just recently, Eddie Jones, the coach of England in the rugby union, former coach of the Wallabies.
Yes.
He's come out this week and he said that there's a shortage of contenders for the England captaincy beyond Dylan Hartley. Because there's a leadership deficit that exists throughout sport, he said.
Just sport in general, not just rugby union.
And now he blames the younger generation for this.
Yeah,
and he says every team in the world faces this problem. New Zealand are going through it now after losing the likes of Richie McCaw and Dan Carter. They would rock up to training and do the right things. Those that aren't doing the right thing, they'd be told to do the right thing. Now you haven't got those guys. Young people today, favourite phrase to start a sentence, don't like doing that. They don't like calling other people out. It's not how people are educated now.
Okay.
Do we agree with Eddie here that the whole younger generation are just a bunch of soft losers?
All millennials, no good and soft, and they don't like being told what to do. And by coaches.
But no one likes being told what to do. I remember being that age and I didn't like being told what to do.
Yeah, I know, but...
And I'm hardly a millennial.
Yeah.
See, this is the rose-coloured glasses that everyone puts on for the generations that they're part of.
Yeah.
And then you read history and you go, young people never like doing they never listen to old people.
Every generation hates the one that comes after them.
And they all say that.
Jealous.
But also, they're never original in their criticism. Their criticism is they don't work as hard and they don't listen to authority. That's they used to say that about the baby boomers. They use, it's all, and they're sort of shiftless and they don't have a clear view.
Yeah.
It's called being young, and you don't have to worry about those things.
Look, I was guilty of this just the other day. My 12-year-old's playing music through beatbox thing, and I just lost it. I turned and I said, the music today is just crap. Can you turn that down? It's auto-tune, bloody drum machine crap. It's not music. And then I thought, geez, I reckon I heard that whole thing when I was playing Black Sabbath 30 years ago.
Exactly. You would have been absolutely.
I thought, my mate, just play whatever you like. And then, but I gave it back to me.
And did you say to him, put some Glenn Miller on?
and then, they both go, dude, your music's so boring. I thought, this is an argument no one's ever going to win. And it's been going on since Elvis.
Oh, before it's been going on. It's been going on since there's been people. Yeah. I mean, I remember reading something ages ago about, and it was in ancient Greece. Yeah. Someone writing about how the young people today don't listen to their elders. So this is not new. So Eddie Jones saying that basically all young people don't have any leadership abilities. I mean,
but yeah, you're right. It's been going on for not
these
decades,
young people today.
Young folk.
Well, it's just that they're young. So why do they care?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, why would they listen to you?
Oh, that's right. When you're young, you don't have to care. Just like when you're really, really old, you don't have to care.
Yeah, like old people just suddenly start saying stuff. They just don't care about if they've got unpopular opinions with society. They just don't care anymore. It's like I'm just telling you.
I don't care. I've got maybe a year or two left. So
I'm not here I've made all the friends in life I'm going to make.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
That's the thing. When you're young, you're trying to make friends. Yeah. When you get a bit older, you're trying to lose friends. And then you don't have any friends, so it doesn't matter.
And then you're alone and bitter. And that makes your opinions even nastier.
I'm bitter even when I'm not alone.
I think bitterness is greatly underrated.
Now, we've got some listeners' questions come in, and as always, they're bang on our what we're talking about being a sports podcast. Taylor Brass has come on first, and he's asked our thoughts on string theory.
String theory?
Yeah.
What is string theory?
String theory is
that got anything to do with tennis rackets? No.
Not quite. String theory is a sort of a physics theory, a sort of one that's a bit out there where you replace some normal particle theory with two-dimensional string-like particles that they've been talking about. I'm not explaining it very well, but I, of course, know it back to front.
Yeah,
I'm not a big proponent of string theory. I think it's got a lot of holes, Serge, and I've said it before. But it's a good question, Taylor. So, I'm more a traditional particle physicist than I am into string theory, but I can see some of the benefits of it as a framework of how to examine the universe, and it's going to lead us. We don't have a unified theory on at the particle at the sort of the atomic level here.
Okay, so you're a string theory denier.
Yeah, that's right. I've got some alternate facts. So thanks, Taylor. That's spot on. Exactly what our listeners are wanting us to talk about.
Gee, I'm glad you were able to explain that as eloquently and as briefly as you did.
Noob wrote in, and Noob is spelled NEWB. Exclamation mark.
Nice
I like
word.
Anyone that has an exclamation mark in their name.
Yeah, good work, Noob.
These millennials. It's a bit better. It's slightly. Actually, he's not a millennial. A millennial would have an emoticon. What is this is for you, Serge. Yeah. What is the midpoint between 0 and infinity?
Oh, Noob. Now, if you're expecting me to be quite as eloquent as Titus just was on string theory, you're wrong. But the midpoint between 0 and infinity, if you've got to look at the definition of the word infinity, which means if you take that correct definition of it being never ending, literally never ending, it is impossible to then get a midpoint.
Yeah.
So the midpoint between 0 and infinity is fluid. Now I go back to your fluid based string theory here.
You use string theory to figure this out, do you?
Yeah, I think string theory can be used here.
See, this is where you and I clash often because you're much more a proponent of string theory than I am.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a sore point for some time. But I can categorically say the midpoint between 0 and infinity is, again, an infinite question and cannot be answered.
Sure. Well, Nib, I actually have sorted this out, but the workings are just the workings are very visual. So it's a bit like a beautiful mind, my room, where I've worked this out. So I can't share it over the airwaves.
Yes.
But maybe I can put my workings up somewhere online. Speakhola sent in. Now, Speakhola is run by Tony Wilson. It's that great website that has a bunch of speeches, famous speeches, all sorts of speeches on anything. And he's written in, can we slam the AFL pre-season competition for being Mickey Mouse yet, or do we have to wait for it to start?
Tony, you've answered your own question. There's absolutely no need to wait until it starts.
No, this one's been one of the worst too.
Yeah, it hasn't. Actually, it hasn't lived up to any of expectations already.
Just to show that we're people that believe in equity, the AFL women's pre-season has been a disgrace. It's been Mickey Mouse. Now, Gavin McDonald's written in, this might take a little bit of explaining. He said, should they change the route of the Clipsal 500 in Adelaide to go along South Road and make it really interesting? Now, what's interesting for our non-Adelaide listeners is South Road, one of the major arterials, if you could call it an arterial in Adelaide, has actually
Is it paved?
It's totally paved and everything. A huge amount of horse and buggies go down it. There's all our old jokes. But anyway, it's got a sort of a tram bridge that goes above it at one point. And suddenly that's been so badly made that the whole tram bridge has sort of come off its pylon slightly. It hasn't fallen, but it's just, you can see it's actually come off. So they've had to shut
the whole thing down.
So imagine like Melbourne or Sydney having to shut one of its major arterials for the fact that there's a bridge that's suddenly been built and has come off.
Imagine Melbourne having to shut down one of its major arterials. It's going to be like that for the next 5 years. So hang on. So what he's suggesting is, now I'm not overly...
We could send it down there because you never know if the bridge is going to fall at any moment.
So he's suggesting that they reroute the Clipsal.
Right down there.
So it goes down there.
I think what Gavin's actually really saying is pointing out, once again, a bit of failing South Australian infrastructure. Yeah. They're having a great time over there.
No, they're not. They are not, indeed.
I blame the fact this bridge of not working, the engineering not working, I blame it partly on string theory, but also I blame it on solar power.
Yes.
These renewables, Serge, it's all smoke and mirrors.
The South Australian power outages, they haven't helped anyone.
It's all smoke and mirrors.
It is.
It's just unbelievable. Now, it's not true climate change now, we've learned, because it's all been taken down from Donald Trump's websites in the wider. The American government just go, I didn't know it was that easy to fix.
Yeah,
just remove mention of it off the...
You hold down Alt and
Alt,
and then you scan it across. Hit delete. Done.
I'm glad
Problem
because
solved.
Before that I was worried the amount of missions we're putting out while we do this podcast. The hot air. Now, that's a good point. It's just good to bring up South Road again and the infrastructure of Adelaide. We always like to hear a good Adelaide infrastructure story.
We do.
Now, I Hate Everyone.
That's a great name,
has written in. What a good excuse is when you talk a big game on Tinder but don't live up to expectations. Asking for a friend. Well, being called I Hate Everyone, I imagine, limits your ability to perform on Tinder. I was just about
to say, no matter what you look like on Tinder, if that's your Tinder name, I Hate Everyone, you're probably going to discourage potential suitors, I would have thought.
See,
that I'm big on Tinder.
You're not big on Tinder? No, I'm surprised to hear that. I'm not on Tinder either, and never have been. Mainly because I don't.
That's not to say that you won't at some point.
Well, it's more that I actively don't want to meet people. Yeah. So being on Tinder would sort of preclude that. But it's huge with the kids, I hear.
The millennials. They don't like to be told what to do on Tinder, though.
I don't know why people on Tinder would lie with their picture if they're going to meet the person anyway. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense to me, but people do it. What do they think's going to happen? Like, I guess you meet somewhere with bad light
Yeah,
That's the trick.
You're just going to get found out straight away.
Tinder seems to be away from just reading about it on the social medias. It just seems to be another way to show how horrible men can be. That seems to be my main takeout from Tinder.
I must admit, from what I've heard about Tinder, you don't see too many good, smart blokes getting on there, do you? Or am I completely wrong?
Well, I mean, you probably don't hear about them. What I'm amazed at when various women that I follow on Tinder have posted about messages they get sent, out of nowhere. And some of the guys, they open strong. They open a bit too strong, some of them.
Oh, that's some of the pictures they can send through.
Just not a...
Wouldn't happen in my day.
But my problem with it is it's not that... I mean, one, it's the women don't want it, so it's offending them as well. Yeah. But on top of that, like, it's not a good strategy. No. That's my even if you're morally incapable of figuring that out, it's not a very good strategy.
So it wasn't even a good strategy in our day. When if you wanted to take a dodgy photo of your nether regions
and send it to someone,
you had to do it on the Kodak. Take it to the chemist, hope that they would develop it, and if they did develop it, they give it to you in a little bag. And the young chick at the chemist would give you that look when you paid your $12.95, and then you've got to post it to the chick. See, I know it's easier these days, but it's never worked.
Dylan Walton wrote, "Who lies more about the size of their crowds, Donald Trump or the NRL?" You can add AFL into this. You can add the AFL GWS crowd count.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot there that... It is amazing how much it is a bit like a sporting competition over there now, where the main thing people seem to be worrying about is attendance.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be like that when Port Adelaide played Gold Coast in Beijing.
Yeah.
No doubt, there is no question the AFL will say there were 20,000 plus there.
Oh.
And there won't. Just to tell you now, there won't.
Martin James Rocks wrote in, great name. Don't know if he's just tacked rocks on it.
Is Rocks part of his name, or is it a verb?
If his name's just Martin James, I think he needs to add rocks. Go down to the birth, deaths and marriages department and get your name changed, because that is a cracker of a name. I like the confidence of that. That's going to work well on Tinder. The problem is if you don't rock, that's when you get into trouble.
Yeah.
Who is the more unpopular selection in the world at the moment? Donald Trump or Mitch Marsh? I think it's Mitch Marsh.
Oh, Mitch Marsh by furlong. I mean, admittedly, the women's marches against Mitch Marsh haven't been quite as big.
Well,
again, it's attendances.
I'll tell you this, Serge, they have been, but the media are just framing them wrongly. That's the real problem here. James Samet wrote in, this is our last question. Why have I never asked a question of you before?
See,
just shy, I guess.
Yeah, you're being a bit clever for your own good there, James, to be honest.
Now,
for that reason, you're not getting a shirt.
But he's got off the mark.
James, we'd love to hear from him more in the future. But you've just been a bit.
I think
too smart there.
You've overcome your shyness.
Yeah. Now
time to get creative.
Get creative. Ask us a proper question.
Yeah, have fun with it,
and then go straight to Tinder.
Explore the space. We're going to give the T-shirt this week to Jeremy Hill. For his is Alex Rance appearing on postcard for his knowledge of September holiday.
As soon as I read that, I thought he was the winner.
Now I should add, I've been a bit delayed in getting T-shirts out. A few people contacted me going, "Are you like Nick Kyrgios?"
Any danger of a shirt?
Yeah, all talk, no action. But the truth is, I've chased a few people up for addresses and stuff today, and I've actually got a couple sitting at my feet. In satchels ready to be mailed, so I'm going to get that backlog cleared.
Okay, good.
If you have won a T-shirt and haven't received it by the end of the week, though, drop me a DM me on Twitter or Facebook, or contact me through the website, and I'll make sure I get it to you, because we are men of our words. Even if it takes us sometimes a little while to get around to it, and that has purely been my poor admin and laziness, and having a few other things on.
And string theory.
String theory will explain most of the reason you haven't got it. So we'll be back on Thursday. We're getting very close to...
Thursday or maybe Friday. Thursday being Australia Day.
Oh, that's right.
It's Australia Day Thursday, and usually by 10:30 I'm
Well, that's right. Well, we could just do it drunk.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
We could try next Friday, or we might just...
we might just have a week off. We'll discuss that amongst ourselves.
We did get to do 2 last week.
2 last week. You don't want to overdo it.
I was tired at the end of it. 2 full hours of work for the whole week.
I don't know how people survive.
And if people could also go on and rate us or leave a comment on iTunes, that helps us immensely. It bumps us up, gets the word out, and we do appreciate that.
We do.
Very much. Spreading the word to other people so we can infect them with our nonsense.
Yes.
We will see you next week.
See you then.